They would too, a lot of them would.
Yeah,
I'll call the
starting
meeting
early.
of the Green Bay Economic Development Authority to order. Roll call, Sikich is here, Alderman Duane.
Yep.
Phil Hilgenberg is excused. Pam Parrish.
Here.
Mike Borley.
Here.
And Eric Genrick's excused. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So move.
Moved by Duane, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Parrish, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Carried. Motion to approve the minutes of the January 11, 2017 meeting. Moved by Duane, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Parrish, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, carried. Old business being none, we'll go to new business. Consideration with possible action on request of Alderman Duane to approve the sale of parcel number 9-45 to Simonettes LLC for $1 to get it back on the tax roll. Referred by Plan Commission on January 23, 2017. Who wants to start? You want to start?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to start, Alderman, I mean, you
Yeah,
kind of talk about.
I just want to start out real quickly how this came about. About 2 years ago, I've talked to Cheryl about putting these properties city-owned back on the tax roll. And it went a while, and about a year ago, I spoke with Kevin and Cheryl about really getting some of this going. And they went through a process, how a lot of things work, and who owned property, RDA, EDA, DPW. And I had a conversation with Steve Grenier about his properties, and he gave me some, and the first one he gave me was Simonettes. And when I explained to him what I want to do, you know, he said, hey, I'm all on board. You know, he's in charge of it because it's for city parking, extra parking. About 5-6 years ago, Simonettes wanted to add on and to their property. And in doing so, the city told them, well, you don't have enough parking for this size, and so they applied for half of this lot that we're talking about. So there's another half that's still there. Through some debate, council approved it, and so upon that approval, they were going to pave their and reconstruct their part of their lot. Where the reason I'm explaining this, I'm trying to go through why I brought this forward. And Steve Grenier, or whoever the DPW guy was at the time, director, said, listen, hey, we'll allow you to use the other half if you do the full construction along with sewer. And what we'll do, and I didn't know there's a lease involved until recently when Kevin told me. We'll allow you to use that parking lot, and we'll just take what it would cost to rent that side. They didn't need to rent it, but if you do the whole lot, we'll take it off. And they signed, it must have been a 10-year lease or something. I don't know how long it was, because this was 5-6 years ago when this went on, and there's a couple of years left. And as long as they ate the price of reconstructing this. And so I looked at the project and I talked to Mr. Grenier, and we brought it to council. First we brought it to INS and they approved it unanimously, and then it was going to go to the council. And after the council approved it, 12-0, there was more that was brought forward. They asked me that same night, Mr. Bonk, Dr. Bonk, had approached Steve and said, listen, this is surplus. All we need to do is it's got to go through planning and be sold as surplus. Well, then after 2 or 3 weeks of that, and looking further into it, they decided that it wasn't surplus anymore because there was a lease and there's a possible build on. Well, and that is correct, there still is a lease, and if we sold it to Simonettes for this $1, the city would still have to pay Simonettes $8,000 on the project, because that's what they would be owed. Well, I talked to Simonettes and they said no, they would forego that $8,000 easy. I mean, they would gladly, they've been maintaining this for, what is it, Kevin, how many years?
2009.
Yeah, it's 9. So this has been going on since, they've been plowing it, and it's a weird lot. It's long, and it takes special equipment because there's nowhere to put the snow. So they got to pull it out a lot of times. And then it came to, I talked to Kevin a few times. He said, well, they can build on it. Well, you really can't build on it because first of all, the city ordinance wouldn't allow them to build on it, because then they would, no, they wouldn't have enough parking for it again, per space inside and everything else. And this, then I was told, well, the agreement is that after the agreement's over, they have a choice, they have the first right of refusal for market value. And which they value it at 26,000, which I talked to the assessor, and he told me that there obviously is gonna be an argument because it's unbuildable. You're not gonna be able to build on it, it's gonna be a parking lot, no matter which way you look at it. So whatever the assessment is for a parking lot, that would have to be agreed upon by the city. And it was passed 12-0 at the first council, but then this part came through, and understandably, so yesterday we talked about it, and the vote was 7-5 to send it back to EDA. And here's where we are, you know. And I look for, this is small business, and I look what we've done, being on EDA and being on finance. You know, a couple months ago, we had someone that failed in their business, and they didn't want to lose their house, and, you know, we forgave their mortgage for a couple of years. These are the type of things that we do here in the city. And the amount of work that they put into this exceeds the amount. Yes, of course, you know, they're paying off their loan by being able to use that parking lot. I understand that. And, but I think we need to, you know, we're looking at doing a lot of these projects. I talked to Cheryl in our league. She said she understands where Kevin's coming from. She was okay with the project. Steve Grenier yesterday stated he's still okay with the project. He'd be glad to get rid of it. And so here, this is where we are. And they're right. They have the first right of refusal. I don't think it's worth $25,000. But all the work they've done for us this entire time, and for a good business, nobody even knows where this business is. If you haven't been in Simonette's, there's nobody in Green Bay that even knows where it is. They don't advertise. They don't put beer signs out. They don't put them in their window. You think it's a business, an office building. We asked the chief of police yesterday, do you know where it is? He goes, no, and I drive by there every day. I couldn't tell you where Simonette's is for the life of me. They're a good partner with Green Bay. They belong to Old Main. They pay taxes on Old Main for their part. They're good business people, and I just feel you got to look at it this way sometimes, and you got to reward the people that they've been there longer than we've been alive. They're older than Geising. You can imagine that. And so that's all I'm asking. There's no rhyme or reason. This property was the first one that was brought to me. Cheryl says we give a lot of properties away, but they can't build on them, and they're run all the time. This is somebody that's maintained it for years, did the construction on it, put the sewer in.
That they agreed to do.
Yeah, I said that. Yeah, they agreed to do it, so they could do it. And that's my point.
Let's hear from Kevin.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so this is part, and look, it's been a long process, and I apologize to Alder Dwayne. I think, look, this has gone through, I mean, initially I went to INS because DPW managed it, and so that seemed a logical place to go. They realized, like, look, no, we manage it, but it's city property, so in the process to go to Plan Commission, and in the process we have for declaring surplus property, there's certain things that we go through, and it goes through interdepartmental review, and that's where we found more things like, here's the lease, here's, you know, our, viewpoint that, look, you know, there's something that can be done on it in terms of building, whether it's a structure or, in this case, the improvement of the parking lot. It differs from surplus that's like extra right away from the side of the road that goes to the adjacent property owner. So with that, the recommendation from planning was to send it to EDA to dispose of it. And that is, look, it's a buildable lot. I mean, they built a parking lot on it and to build. You know, my perspective, I look at the numbers and I look at the lease that's in existence right now. You know, I think, yeah, in a lot of cases, I very much agree with Alder Dwayne that it makes sense for us to get properties out of city hands off the tax rolls. And, you know, the reason I brought Ken here today is just to talk about, you know, something Alder Dwayne and I have talked about and finding out what our properties are and how do we start getting those back on the tax rolls. In this case, I just looked and just kind of put it in my analysis based on the numbers where the lease is at right now in terms of the fair market value that they could purchase it at, and then, you know, even with, I think, you know, Alder Dwayne has said their willingness to forgive the 8,500. I think we need to document it, make sure, and if, you move to approve, that I would make sure that that be part of the motion, that gets documented. With that, just based on the taxes at this point, right now, I feel from a financial sense, it's best to keep the lease. We'll accept pleasure of the EDA, and ultimately council is one who decides.
Have Simonettes or others expressed interest in even land near that property for future development or anything right now, or?
So we have, with Route WI, they have a planning option on the parcels right to the left of it.
To the-
There are two city
Okay.
parcels, and then there's an RDA parcel.
Right.
There's an RDA parcel between Simonette's that will not be part of any agreement. The ones, it would be 2 lots over, so there'd be a half a lot, a full lot, and then 2 more lots, and they're interested in the 2 furthest lots away from going west.
So,
And that's been brought forward to us already. We
Yeah.
extended not too long ago the process.
that option is, joint between RDA and EDA, because it's basically the 3 parcels, and then, so the planning option is with that chunk. This parcel could be a part of a larger development. It was not able to be part of the planning option because it's under contract right
Right,
now.
right.
Should that developer want to move forward and want to purchase the property, the Simonette's property, based on the lease, Simonette's would have the first right of refusal
Right,
to purchase it.
right.
So, look, it could be, but in a practical matter, Simonette's has the first option with it, so I think it's working with Simonette's to
Right.
decide what they want or don't want to do with
Yeah,
it.
Kevin, may I ask you a question?
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask him a question?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, you're saying that you're gonna allow somebody to build right on top of their parking lot, and you'll just have that half a parking lot. What's that gonna look like? You're not gonna do that. That would look ridiculous. Yeah, that would be comical, really.
Sure, it would, but I think, in order to do that, we would have to look at, zoning and parking and the ability to move something in there, but it's not impossible, and it could be.
What I'm saying, Kevin, I've been in here 12 years, and planning has stopped that every time when you have these adjoint properties. I've been here 12 years, they're fighting these all the time. They're not gonna allow, they would not submit anything like that.
Sure, and,
So, I just want to make it clear.
Okay.
That's going to be a half a parking lot, you're not going to join up to it.
and I can't say that without seeing a site plan to say whether or not.
No, I
it's
understand
not
that.
being-
But there is planning going on right now. There's a planning option just right adjacent to this parcel.
Correct.
When does that expire, you know?
I believe it expires, I'll have to look it up, I think it's next month in March.
Oh, that soon.
Yeah, it was just a 3-month option.
Gary, I got some questions. I'm sure Pam's got questions the same. Parcel 9-45 is the 30 feet.
Correct.
Right.
Is correct. All right, which is technically, 5/8 of the lot. If we sell that, we're still stuck in between, sandwiched with another, it's not quite a 50-foot lot then. The 2 other parcels.
946 and 947.
947,
yeah.
the concerns I have is we have that piece and that piece, which makes it even less buildable when you have, you have 53, 53, 53. At least we have an option of having, a 60, probably a 70-foot parcel as it exists now. And I understand some of the concerns or the issues that were brought up earlier, but again, the development of lot 9-45, the improvements were all done based on the lease that they agreed to in 2009. And there's no sunset on this lease. It's basically.
correct.
It is whenever one other party in writing decides that they want to terminate the lease. Simonette's has protection because they have a first option. And they also are not paying right now based on their improvements. So theoretically, if they bought the piece of property from Mr. Duane, who owned it, or Mr. Sickage, who owned this, they paid him, but then they also would have had to have paid for improvements and maintenance. Right now, the city is kind of the banker, and they're allowing them to do that through the course of the lease. I think at minimum, the city should try to keep that lease in continuation until the costs are taken care of. Plus the fact that Simonette's has an option of first refusal. You know, I know Simonette's and Tom and I know Simonette's, we probably got kicked out of there when we were in high school. But the point is that when you start breaking this apart, selling this 30-foot, it degrades the value of this, and we all know that there's an issue as the city has grown and as Main Street and again Cedar Street has changed in configurations. We still have a parcel of Point that really needs to be developed as one whole piece, and we as EDA has addressed that probably 2 or 3 years ago with some potential options. Along with that is that you have that warehouse that's for sale across the street, and that's always been a challenge from a warehousing standpoint with semis and so on.
The one on Cedar Street?
Yeah, on Cedar. So to start reducing the flexibility that all of the parties have involved doesn't make any sense. And lastly, you know, we're supposed to be stewards of the taxpayers' dollars to start giving away property for $1. I'm gonna stand in line to be the next one because, you know, that sounds like a good moneymaker to me.
Well, that's what we do on a regular basis, Mike. We're handing all these properties over for $1, and then we're giving them $5 million in TIF, so. It happens every day. That's what Kevin brings to us on a regular basis.
Pam, do you have any questions or comments?
I guess I'd like clarification. This is in the Main Street District.
Correct.
Would you like me to abstain?
Because you participate in,
I guess I don't take part in the budget
look,
or
and
whatever, but.
what I would do is just before your vote, I mean, this does not have a, I would say, direct financial interest. I think you just
Okay.
disclose your position, but if you're, I mean, not set to financially benefit from whether this goes or doesn't go, I think just disclosing now on the record that, look, you work for Old Main.
But
Okay.
yeah, I don't see that you have a conflict or anything.
Okay, thank you.
Ken, what do you kind of echo what Kevin said, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think after this, Ken's gonna talk a little bit, just kind of about
Okay,
the process
good.
of bigger things.
Yeah, okay.
That's what I've been working with, is trying to find parcels like this and put the value on them, and, you know, to not call something surplus if it's not just that little remnant parcel, you know, so something, if it does have that value to that area, then we want to make sure we have that.
Yeah, I guess I kind of echo what Mike's saying, I guess, in all due respect, I see no reason why we would break this lease right now. Let's see what happens here in the future, and I don't see a hurry, but there's got to be more underutilized, abandoned parcels out there than this one. I mean, yeah, I mean, there's got to be, you know, bigger fish to fry, so to speak, than this one. I would just leave it as is.
I don't have any issues with trying
Yeah,
to get surplus properties on
No,
the tax roll.
I don't
My
either.
concern is with this particular piece to sell off 30 feet, now we've devalued 947, 946, and then how do you deal with that piece now?
But Mike, how do you think you're gonna really build up to that other part, that last parcel?
Well, that's
I mean,
my,
I
that's my
can't imagine
point.
that
If
you
I
would
keep
support
these,
that.
I still have, I
That's
still have an
ridiculous.
option, or I still am in the driver's seat for approximately 80 feet of
Because
frontage,
I've been to these meetings with them before.
so.
We typically don't allow that in my 12 years.
From a, oh, we have a question. Can we open up the
Sure.
floor?
But-
Well, I'm an older person, so.
Oh, I'm sorry.
too. But, so I don't have a strong feeling, you know, either way on this. I see what Tom is saying, I understand what he's saying. I just want a couple questions. So if we did sell this piece for $1, would there be any expectation that the other two lots adjacent to it would people have that expectation that they could be sold for $1? And if the answer is no, then just tell me that.
Yeah,
I
see
don't know.
why.
Well, look, I think when, as Alder Dwayne stated, when we bring forth some type of development agreement and we subsidize the land, and that is, you know, sell it for the cost of $1, we try and indicate, all right, well, how much is that subsidy worth in terms of what's the fair market value of it? We also try to say, look, the reason that we're selling it for $1 is because that's in order to get a development project on it that's going to be worth $100,000, $200,000, $1 million and generate this much incremental taxes than just a vacant lot. I think one of the issues we have right now is that the incremental taxes on here are very minimal. And that is, a rough assessment says, look, this is gonna be about $25,000 for the city, then that's about $224 a year of
Right.
incremental
I was
taxes.
there listening.
What is,
So,
what is?
I have another
Oh, I'm
question.
very sorry. I thought you-
That's right. No, my other question is, well, it's not really a question, it's a statement. Siemens has put a lot of money into this, and granted, they got the use of it, and I think that there is some support out there to looking at maybe not $1 and maybe not $25,000. Is there any chance that there can be a lesser amount that we might be able to?
I
Just
mean, that's
out
the
of
pleasure of
fairness.
the EDA, if they would like, to enter negotiations or change a motion to be different than $1. I mean,
What was
that's,
it, what's it assessed at? Did you say 28,000?
But it
Our
might not
assessor
even be
says-
acceptable to Siemens. I just know that there,
Right.
comments have been made among some other alders, that there might be some support for that. And Tom, would that help at all?
Oh, yeah. I'm not, I brought this forward because I looked at what they did and brought the project forward. And in 12 years, we've done this many, many times, and you saw it. And before Dr. Blanc was here, they always say, well, look at the tax base it's going to bring. If you look at their entire building, how much they pay in taxes, do you know what it is? What they pay in taxes on their building? And all this would do is add to their parking lot. And secure it. We're not gonna build up to that parking lot. I've never seen that done, where we put a project together on top of a half a parking lot. I know that Paul, Paul has, what's Paul's last name?
Did they not own all of this parking here?
they own, no, the lot it's a parking lot that from the aerial, it's one parking lot. Half of it is on their property, half of it
Right.
is on city
But
property.
who's this?
That's
This is
theirs.
Siemens.
Yes, that's
This is
Siemens.
Siemens.
Correct.
So they own all of this, which I thought when I
Correct.
was driving around this
Yes.
weekend. And it's not that we want to sell somebody a property for $1. But also, if you look at the map, my concern is that, that's fine. Let's put this and let them make an offer on this piece, not $1. What are you willing to pay for this 30 feet, is what I'm saying. But then, as the city who owns this, you have 30, if the lines are correct, this might be 28 feet, this is 25 or 28 feet. What do we do with this?
Well, what are we doing with it now? I mean, it's good, it's a parking lot right now, they improved it to be a
Well,
parking lot.
but right now, this is all this is all city owned, so now it's at least a
Yeah.
developable piece, is what I'm saying. That somebody could put a building or an asset on it that creates higher taxes than
But we have a lease
asphalt.
with no end date on that, so,
But
you know,
we're
we
generating
can
more
use-
money than taxes.
Right, but I'm saying
So-
it would eliminate the ability for it to be a big lot, wouldn't it? If it's a parking lot, was improved as a parking lot. And again, I don't have strong feelings either way. I'm
Well,
just trying to bring up some
we can
ideas.
end the lease.
We can terminate the lease at
Each
any
party
time.
can terminate
Oh, really?
within
Oh, okay.
written notice,
Wasn't
so.
aware of that.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's what when I read through the lease, it's like, well,
Yeah.
as a businessman, why would I sell it for $1 when I'm making 16,000?
I'm on the back.
Or $2,600 a year.
But we really aren't, we
So
haven't collected.
plant people and then
Well,
cement
no.
But they've improved it.
plants.
Right, so it's,
It's
you know.
balanced.
It's a balance.
That
So-
makes any sense.
Yeah, you're behind.
Alder Dwayne, to answer your question, Senate's
Yeah, they-
parcel is assessed at about $406,000, which
Okay, this
roughly
is
than
what the city
$3,600
owns
in
right
city
here.
taxes.
This is theirs, so
This
it'd
is
be.
theirs,
So
so it's
anyway.
the one over here.
I'm just concerned about the
Yeah,
big
that's the same.
picture versus, what do we do with the other two pieces now? Do we sell that one to Siemens for $1 and the other guy for $1?
Well, that was the other question, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, that's
I
the challenge with that.
maybe missed right in the beginning, has Simonette's approached the city on buying that?
Oh, we brought
Yeah,
it
they're not
forward.
even-
Yeah.
They do want to buy it.
Well, no, we're talking about putting it on tax roll, and that's all I brought it
Oh, okay,
forward.
I see.
Yeah.
And so I think the
I thought it was an
initial
unused parcel,
Yeah.
and I brought this forward, people, because of the fact of all the work they put into it. They've been maintaining it, they put thousands of dollars into it, even, through an agreement. I
Right.
understand all that,
Yeah.
I understand all that. Talking about being good business people,
Sure.
And just saying, listen, we understand all that. Mr. Grenier understood it, and he was all for it. In fact, Cheryl and everybody's all for it in the beginning until this last 3/4 of a month.
Any more discussion or questions? I guess we'd need a motion to approve the sale of the parcel for $1 and get it back on a tax roll, if there's anyone willing to make that motion. I'm not interested.
Motion to deny the request.
There's a motion to deny the request. Is there a second?
I'd make a second on that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? One nay.
Obviously.
But-
So motion denied, or request denied.
Motion to adjourn?
Well, prior to
one
that,
more,
may
we-
I make a motion to that? Or just a point of information that in light of this, now that we're starting to look at these parcels, if in fact Simonetz is interested in buying that parcel, I would welcome them
Well,
To-
question, yep.
to make us an offer.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, in those terms may be similar to what was presented.
Could
in
we,
some form or
could we have staff look into that, Kevin, just, see if they're interested in
I'll
selling it?
go back.
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
As long as it's greater, our value is greater than what we're getting now.
Okay. Okay.
Well, I think Alder Dorf said, I mean, look, the lease says fair market value, if they want to come back at fair market value, or they want to come back somewhere in between.
Exactly.
I think that would give you, I mean,
Good point.
it seems like at least open to discussion.
Right,
in
right.
terms
I mean,
of-
let's negotiate it as a real estate
I'm just saying,
transaction.
as a parking lot, that's not fair market value. If you think you're gonna build up to it, then it might be 25,000 or whatever. But it's, in my belief, it's never gonna be more than a parking lot because of what's out there. But I'm not here to argue.
Okay.
It's been denied already, so.
Okay, one more item, development director's update.
So just real quickly on some other parcels, we have been actively negotiating, I informed you, with another party on our Erie Road parcel, the southwest corner of Mason and Erie. Working through, it's an industrial expansion, and we've been talking back and forth about the plans, and hopefully in the coming weeks, we will be looking at potentially an offer to purchase. So I just want to know that those
Good.
negotiations are ongoing. The client is looking at, both this parcel, other parcels in the city, and parcels in other communities, and so we're trying our best to make sure that this is the one.
Did they say what they want to bring forward, Kevin?
They do, it's an industrial use, and I can talk to you a little bit more
Yeah,
about it
yeah.
offline. But yes, they've been exploring early, and just, I think this is a good fit for them. This builds out I-43 and gets our last piece in there sold.
Great.
So with that, I just, wanted to take, and we'll take 3 minutes so we can get out of here at a reasonable time. Just, one of the things, and I guess per directive, Alder Dwayne, and just things we've talked about here about Ken and just some of the things that he's doing with city properties and how we get them back on the tax
Sure.
roll.
Yeah, pretty much just to build on kind of what we were looking at there with the, what is surplus compared to what is not surplus. I've been working with planner Mark Lyons. He put together, or extracted from GIS, all of the properties that are listed as Green Bay properties. And so now I'm going through those right now to pull out the ones that are parks or DPW. It's real, like the RDA properties that we own are out there and they're owned by RDA. But all of these other properties are out there and they show up as City of Green Bay. So we're not really sure always, when someone's looking at, well, who has control over this. So I'm putting that list together right now. Just so when something like this comes up, it's a quicker process of, okay, this is, parks, or this is DPW, and here's the value, and here's what we're kind of looking to do with it. So I'm going to be meeting with DPW and the Parks Department to talk about what the uses are for those, or what you kind of see as the future for those properties too, so.
And I think to Alder Dwayne's point, it's to go through, maybe pre-vet some of these things to find out, is there a lease on it? Is it surplus? Is it, what's the
Right.
proper channels for
Yeah.
disposing of these properties?
Yeah.
Which makes sense,
If I
because-
may, because when we went through this, Mike and you guys, we were all on board with this, everybody was on board, and they had no problems with this, because it was dealt as a surplus.
Well, that's what I'm saying, you
Yeah.
didn't realize, you would have
Nobody
wasted your
realized
time
until-
if you had a lease.
No way,
Yeah.
there's no way I would have brought it forward this way. That's not how I mean, I would have been smart enough not to do that, but I went through 2.5 months of all this, and then find out last week that here's the situation, where it was never brought up in these year and a half or 2 years, talking about all this stuff. I mean, so.
Well, I think this is just a function, an ongoing process to be more efficient, utilize our technologies and organize this database so everybody has access to it, the council, and you can see, all right, what is this? Where are we at? You know, and in that includes what's a brownfield.
And
what
Mike,
is this, and
like
what's
I
a
said,
brownfield.
we were told it was surplus
Right.
up until last week.
So, and it
No harm, no
opens the
foul.
discussion between the departments too, to see,
Yeah.
you know, what's, so we're all on the same page, so.
Well, that's what it's about. Let's be more efficient.
Will be.
Yeah, because you gotta remember, the council already voted 12 nothing on it
Yeah,
to sell it
yeah.
for $1.
Okay, no, your input, Ken, is gonna be very valuable as we move forward here.
And as soon as I get it together and more organized, I'll bring it in.
Bring it
as
in,
well.
yeah. see
So,
what- see what
And
you
then we'll
got.
be able to access that on the website, I suspect, a lot of that.
Yeah.
That database.
We're in the process, the city's in the process of getting a new website, so they put an RFP together, and part of the things that we've requested are better tools that we can use to help market sites. So I think, you know, before we do, we will probably bring just kind of that formal spreadsheet here, us for EDA, and then to RDA saying, look, these are the properties we want to put out there to sell. Can you give us, you know, some direction in terms of marketing and getting them sold?
And just like what you referred to before, some of these properties, you can't sell them for $500. You
Oh,
can't even
yeah,
sell them for
yeah,
10.
yeah, right.
They're adjoining
Yeah,
properties, they're
yeah,
surplus.
yeah.
You know, at that point, give it to them for $1.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
give it to them
right,
plain.
right.
Put it back, on, you know, get rid of it. You know, so I don't have a problem doing that. That's why I don't have a problem doing this one.
Good. Okay, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So make a motion.
Moved by Borley, is there a second? Second by me, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Carried.
Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, everyone, thanks for your
Yeah,
good work.
it's,
Looking
and
into
in
this.
that database, that will show
I'm gonna go back to them and I'm